Our paper is entitled On Selective, Mutable and Dialogic XAI, a review of what users say about different types of interactive explanations. It offers a detailed scoping review of the interactive explainability interfaces that have been evaluated by human users. There are several motivations for this work. First, there is an ever-growing number of contributions each year on the topic of explainability, so reviews are currently necessary to summarize this literature. Then, studies in XAI do not use a common vocabulary to designate different interaction types, making it difficult to draw general conclusions on the different forms of interactive XAI. Further, it is not clear whether interactive explanations are beneficial or detrimental to users on various aspects such as user understanding, trust, or user satisfaction. We therefore conducted a detailed scoping review on empirical studies in which interactive explanations are evaluated with human users. Scoping reviews are typically useful to examine how research is conducted on a specific topic, to identify, report, and discuss evidence on a topic. We applied a systematic search methodology for the selection and inclusion of papers following PRISMA. From an initial database of 716 papers, we eventually included 48 papers in our final corpus. Our inclusion criteria were designed so as to focus on papers that presented an explainability interface, that had some interactive features, and that was evaluated by users either qualitatively or quantitatively. Finally, we applied an emerging synthesis, that is to say, we provided a narrative account of the included studies. Following previous review work, we created a concept matrix for the analysis of the interactivity landscape in explainability. The matrix is organized into 4 dimensions, whether the concepts relate to the context of the explanation, its content, its communication, or its user-based evaluation. Building on previous interaction taxonomies in InfoVis and HCI, we developed 9 different interactivity types specific to explainability. We then grouped them according to their role in the human cognitive process of explaining. Select interactions enable the user to select information by clicking on hyperlinks to display explanations on demand, by configuring the explanation space, or by filtering the explanation conditionally on an input metric. These interactions can help users formulate hypotheses and actively search for factors that may lead to causal explanations. As such, they enable explanations to be selective. Mutate interactions enable the user to mutate causes, which is to test their hypothesis by reconfiguring, simulating, or comparing different situations. This mutation step is part of the human's explanation cognitive process. Finally, dialogue with interactions enable the user to interact with the system in a dialogue-like structure. Information about the AI model is then given progressively and/or iteratively. For example, the user can ask the system a question or give the system feedback. Our analysis enabled us to respond to the following research question: with what content and form were the interactive explanations presented to users? We found that the interactive explanations from the corpus predominantly focused on why questions, using feature-based explanation methods. We also found that there was an opportunity for future research to explore how-to questions, notably by showing how to achieve different outcomes from the one initially output by the AI. Then, explanations were mainly presented through charts and text, less frequently through tables and rules. We found that rules often supported the modification, deletion, and creation of explanations. Our analysis also revealed insights about how interactive explanations were evaluated with users. We listed the different metrics and questionnaires used in our corpus to measure different user-based concepts. Many papers did not use any control conditions. 9 studies compared interactive to static explanations, and 13 compared interactive to no explanation at all. Then we highlight a lack of harmonization of the user metrics used, notably for multifacetious concepts like user satisfaction, that we divided in our paper into usability and usefulness. Some work argues that subjective measures may be misleading for properly assessing the value added of explanations. Objective measures such as task performance or task questions to measure understanding, for example, circumvent this problem. We also reported the effects that interactive explanations have using the studies that use the control condition. We found that interactive explanations seem to improve perceived usefulness and performance at task. We also found no clear indication of an effect of interactivity on cognitive load or over-reliance. To sum up, our scoping review identified that interactivity tends to increase perceived usefulness and the performance of the human and AI team compared to static explanation. We also highlighted conflicting results on the role that interactivity has on over-reliance, cognitive load, learning, and understanding. We also point out that the explainability community could benefit from more controlled experiments and a better harmonization of the evaluation metrics used to better understand the effects of interactive explanations. Finally, we discussed the idea that dialogic explanations are better because they are more human-like, finding that they could improve usability and understanding, but also disturb for being too human. Thank you for your attention.